Hello, everyone. Today I'm joined by Matt and Ryan from WisdomTree Portfolio and Growth Solutions. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Doing great.
Good to hear. So I'm really excited about our partnership and delivering fully outsourced models to advisors. And we all know WisdomTree provides investment products, but the more I learn about your company, I'm finding there's so many more resources for the advisor community. Can you guys shed a little light on what your group does in particular?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll kick that off. I mean, I think that's a really great point because a lot of investors have known us at WisdomTree since 2006. We launched our original indexes that ETFs track. But if you're to think about really the trajectory of where we went, we wanted to not just pioneer better investments, but also a better investor experience and applying that to solving advisor challenges. And so that's a lot of what Matt and myself do in a lot of different capacities. I would say on one aspect for me, it's really been about model portfolios. So advisors leveraging expertise on our model portfolios that we have on a bunch of different platforms, and most excitingly with Adhesion. But then with Matt, he's his team and what he's been able to create is so much different and better or more evolved than just investments. And so it's behavioral finance, it's transitioning your business. It's what Matt focuses on specifically, and a lot of the research he'll bring up around online presence. But then we also have a great team within just teaming up with academic and industry experts really across the field to bring it to advisors on a really slick platform known as our Advisor Solutions.
Okay. And I feel that's something that really differentiates you guys from the market out there. I mean, I feel like obviously model portfolios, ETFs, at this time, things are kind of table stakes. But it really kind of, from my opinion, sets you guys apart in what advisors have access to. Where do they find all this stuff, coming out of your group?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what we're trying to make it as easy as possible, wisdomtree.com. And we have advisor solutions right there at the top of the page. But to answer your question about what makes us different is every asset manager out there, to your point, is getting into this evolution, a natural evolution of ETF model portfolios, or even just model portfolios. I mean, they've been around for so long, but the ability to access sophisticated solutions has been so easy for advisors, right? I mean, it could be in your custodian or somewhere on your tech stack and a website where it's like a newsletter subscription. Everyone's getting into it, but advisors actually started coming to us informally. This is dating back to 2013, trying to see how our investment team would put together model portfolios. So that's when we started, and the evolution of it is not just making it more accessible, but really solving that challenge of adding, I would say, mass customization, really customized model portfolios at scale. And that's what gets us so many advisors excited about WisdomTree's portfolio and growth solutions. Because what we're essentially saying is a lot of advisors, they say, I don't want to do model portfolios, give up all of the, my ability to select investments and losing control, or my value proposition, what are, my clients going to think? We collaborate with advisors to really hone in on their business, what their value proposition is to their end clients, the messaging around that, and how they can do the things that they entered the business to do and really automate those other things that are commoditized or not differentiating. And we do that by collaborating with advisors on these model portfolios that are custom to what they're trying to solve with their advisors. And then we team up with you guys at Adhesion to really bring that to life. So we're not just providing another Excel spreadsheet that they don't want to do, we're actually helping them implement it, and we're trading and rebalancing, tax loss management. I mean, I'll let Kevin, you're the expert on that, on what our partnership with Adhesion can do, but nonetheless, it's not just saying, here's a model portfolio, save some time and do it. It's let's collaborate, let's make it really specific and to the audience that you serve as an advisor to your end clients. And then we can take off some of those really commoditized, annoying things that a lot of advisors do, so they have more time to grow and scale their business through many features such as the growth solution. So that's a long-winded way of answering that we're really trying to go beyond what a lot of asset managers are just doing.
No, I appreciate that. And I know today we're going to be talking about, building a practice set for growth, right? And I think you hit on it. We take on a lot of the, what we call like non-value generating aspects of the business, the trading, the rebalancing, billing, potentially reporting, tax loss management, tax harvesting, all that great stuff. But I guess let's start from the beginning of your presentation, right? If I'm looking to build a practice, what actually triggers clients to actually seek out advisors, and how do those advisors, capture those people out there looking, for advice?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you said like the non-value generating stuff, but you have to have time to be able to work with clients. You have to have time to be able to prospect. And so I think that stuff is so incredibly important. If you could give advisors back 30 minutes every day, what does that add up to when it comes to however many more phone calls, emails, things like that? So when you think about those trigger events, when you think about your prospects, there are things going on in their lives that are causing them to say, you know what, I need some help. I'd like to find someone to talk to ask questions about. For each advisor, you're gonna have different ones for your clients. There'll be some that are across the board, but they're the events that cause someone to say, maybe I should talk with someone. They could be approaching retirement, want to be able to only retire once. That could kind of happen, and they say, you know what, as I'm approaching retirement, I just want someone to give me a second opinion. That's a trigger event. There could be a trigger event for someone who is an entrepreneur, who started a business, raised some capital, or is going through a capital raise. And as they look to sell their business, they might say, you know what, I should probably talk to someone as I look to do this. Executives looking for a transition. You could see there's so many different things going on. Life events. I'm a new expecting dad. Hopefully in 5 weeks. So like that's something that my wife and I have started figuring out. Is like, what are we missing? And so when you think about these events, think about how you can get in front of those events. If you work with entrepreneurs or business owners, are there business owner events? Are there tech entrepreneur events? So for me, I started a software company in 2012. I kind of traveled around. I was in Atlanta, so I'm here in Atlanta at Tech Village, spoke in front of a group of startup company kind of founders and think I talked about growing a team remotely. And someone came up to me after the presentation, said, hey, Matt, I'd love to sit down with you, think through a couple things as you're growing your business over some coffee. Absolutely. I said, great, sure, I'm in to do that. I'm interested. We did that. And who did I build trust with? So when I went to sell the business, the press release came out, a couple of people put out press releases, we shared them. People started writing me on LinkedIn, but the problem was it was too late. I'd already built trust with someone. So think of those trigger events of your clients and just write down, if nothing else, grab a sheet of paper and write down and say, what are the 7 top reasons that people come to us? Or what are the 7 things happening in our clients' lives that cause them to have that first initial call with us? And then when you can start talking to that, so make sure on your website, you say the types of clients we work with are, the working with client, and go from there. But that will help you start thinking about how can I get in front of those trigger events and have them resonate with prospects when they do view your website.
So if I get the people to come, right, or I get in the market that I want to be in, or the life event or the niche, however you want to kind of frame it, what actually makes the prospect choose an advisor? I mean, are there any key features or something you'd point out that says, hey, in the world of Google or Yelp or whatever it might be, what actually makes the choice come down to that individual advisor?
That is a great question. I'll tell you what it's not. It's not the same content as thousands of other advisors out there. It's not the same, we do asset management, we do the service. Now that stuff is good. It can check off the box, okay, you're qualified, and you're talking about, but prospects, what we found is we did some subconscious emotional testing. We did split testing. We did eye tracking on websites and testing messages and photos. Overall, your prospects want to get a positive emotion. They want to have this positive emotion resonate across building trust. So 2 things mainly, building trust with you as a person, and then that you have the expertise, you have the confidence to help them achieve their goals. So there are a lot of things you can do. Warm, friendly smiles on team photos, headshots, and bios. Talk about the trigger events and how you work with people like them with those trigger events, but talk about what they want to get into it, what they want to get from working with you. Ask yourself the question, so what? You want to answer that question. So why do they hire you? Not just to get better organized, but what does that allow them to do? And so the more content you have on your website that's positioned around working together with clients, the types of clients you work with, that ultimate goal of reducing stress, living a second childhood in retirement, words that your clients would use really resonate. And I'd say the most important thing is having a process page on your website. So It could be as simple as at the top menu bar, it says working with us or our process or something similar. And you could have a 3-step process. Step 1, set up an introductory call. Ask us questions like this. We'll ask you questions like this. And if it makes sense to move forward, we'll move to a financial planning meeting, whatever that looks like. But have a few steps. So I would say no fewer than 3, no more than 7. I'd say 3 to 5 is a good range. I see most advisors put about 5. And then at the very bottom of that page, circle back to that introductory meeting and say, hey, to schedule that first step, that introductory meeting, do that here or contact us here. And then you could use that rally cry around and the call to action of everything you do. If you're on webinars, if you're sending emails, if you're asking for referrals on your website, whatever, say, hey, if you want to schedule an introductory call, learn about it here and do that here. It's a simple way. It's very low friction. You're not saying, hey, bring every text document you've ever had in your life, because believe it or not, although people would probably say it's silly, first meetings, prospects have no clue what to bring, no clue what to ask, and they have a lot of anxiety. So you would just want to make it as simple, as easy to understand as possible for that first meeting.
Yeah, and
it's funny
Matt,
because
I was going to say, Matt, maybe for the audience, I think it's important. It's not, my opinion when we're talking about these things. It's not necessarily your opinion. It's a lot of research that's been put into it too. If you just wanted to spend maybe 30 seconds talking about the research conducted, that we've learned all these insights about why advisors might, or why people choose advisors, those trigger events, etc.
Yeah, and I could geek out about it, so I'll keep it super short. We put over 6,000 prospects, mass affluent, high net worth, ultra high net worth individuals and couples as they were going through finding an advisor or just after they did. And we didn't just do surveys. It wasn't go to surveymonkey.com and send out 1,000 surveys. It was deep dive interviews. We did eye testing, we did split testing. We put a device on people's head when we could get a certain amount of them in a lab type setting, and started measuring when they're looking at a website, where are they looking? What are they skipping? What's giving them a negative emotion? And so we really went to a research centered and data backed like reasoning of why we recommend these things. Absolutely.
So it's funny because like when I first started in this business a long time ago, I actually went in the advisor capacity, and this was when referrals were pretty much the only way to grow your business. This was kind of, it wasn't before websites, but it was kind of close to when that started, whole thing started taking off. Yeah. But it sounds like everything you're saying, like web presence is key, right? So, I mean, what can you do to differentiate yourself out of, I mean, obviously like a lot of websites kind of look the same because they're, kind of templated, other than, I guess, your web presence, like, is it social? Like, what other avenues are out there for advisors to really capitalize, as this business changes and evolves?
Great question. I get that question a lot, and I'll get some advisors that say, hey, I redid some things on LinkedIn. I reach out to my ideal clients on LinkedIn. They might be executives or business owners or developers, things like that. And that can work for some people. The problem is you cannot send them an email or a message and say, I want to introduce myself and my firm. It needs to be really personal and be targeted and say, hey, we work with people like you. Create really quick curiosity and some sort of value add to schedule the meeting. You can use social media, but the problem is if you really want to get good and drive prospects on social media, you need to be engaging and kind of live that all the time. And I don't really know many advisors who have that time and who are willing to do it. So I would say you could go to LinkedIn. You could use like Sales Navigator, do searches for some of your ideal clients there, or find what we found is to really build third party and like trust and just validation of you're a trusted person. Anything that if you're on a top advisor list or can do that, that's really great. Or community stuff too. If someone's looking up financial advisor near me and what shows up is your Google local business listing, I would make sure to have one of those. You can go to business.google.com and like create your local business listing there. Google wants to put those in front of people when they're looking for advisors. But if those show up and then somewhere on that page, there's a link around how you volunteer or do any sort of nonprofit work and give back in the community, whatever that looks like, that is really important in building trust with your prospects and them saying, I could see myself trusting them with my life savings.
How about, yeah, it's funny, 'cause we have an advisor I got to know over the past couple of years. And, it's kind of, in this industry, golf is obviously a big thing, right? But it's also a saturated event, right? So if you go, there's probably 4 advisors for every, 2 groups, right? And he's a big fisherman, right? So he's kind of turned, his passion into, marketing. He's kind of built, he writes for magazines, like he's done a lot of that. What about taking like your passions and, kind of taking that and building that into your practice? Have you seen a lot of that with your advisors?
Absolutely. So in 2 different ways. One, I've seen it with just creating that experience for clients and doing things with clients and prospects to have that in-person experience, that building trust and getting that time. That's not like a sales environment. That's more of, hey, let's just build a relationship, create a great time, and have like help out and invite friends, whatever. I think that's really important, is to connect with your prospects and your clients on that level and have those experiences to feel that like community and just sense of being together. Or at the same time, on the other end of that is create educational content around it. Like Kevin, like you said, I've seen an advisor who was doing webinars, and a lot of their clients play golf, and said, hey, here are the top 7 courses to play in retirement, and described them and talked about them. And that was a great event he did. It was fun. It was educational. It wasn't another market update that a lot of people are doing. And it was just a different value add. So things like that, or even, yeah, if you could like write for a golf magazine, write for something, reach out to them, and if there's a hobby that you have around it, say, hey, here's 3 thoughts that people who are approaching retirement, or people in this sport, or people in this situation, reach out to like the editor. Relatively easy to find like an editor-in-chief. Say, hey, I have a couple thoughts. Here are 3 bullet points. Would you be interested in this? And that could be a great way to get published in a magazine, an article, or something similar in front of your ideal audience.
Okay. I say it also really helps using analogies, right? And speaking to the language that they can apply for. So it's like on one end, I've seen an advisor use a lot of golf analogies when he's talking about financial planning, but we use analogies too, and we talk all the time about the leveraging expertise and utilizing model portfolios. For instance, a lot of the times we've actually tested this, to Matt's point when speaking with advisors, about different concepts and communication elements that really help drive the point about the leverage expertise and resonates with end clients. And so one example, about 2/3 of the thousands of people that were participating in the study equated in a doctor conducting an assessment to an advisor understanding their financial needs and applying a model portfolio. And I mean, when I think about, myself personally, I had non-invasive shoulder surgery right on the shoulder right here a couple of years ago. And I mean, I remember the process, right? I went to my general practitioner, I got an x-ray, can't remember if I got a second opinion, but nonetheless, I then got the surgery and then I did PT. Imagine if like you would never expect your general practitioner to do all of those different things. A lot of people don't expect their financial advisor to be doing, all those different things. And in the sense, they'd rather see them leverage expertise, which is why talking about model portfolios in that fashion, in the right fashion, really made a difference on the acceptability and actually gained the trust. It was more of like an offensive. It elevated the advisor's perception of, or the individual's perception of that advisor and what they're offering.
That's a great point too, because I've seen over I've been with Adhesion for I guess over 8 years now. And you have the advisors who think there's a lot of value in building your own portfolios and doing it yourself, versus the ones that choose to outsource the model portfolios. We find that when you put yourself on the same side of the table as the clients and say, listen, we are going to put you in the best solution for you. It's just like you said, Ryan. It's like, if I'm sick, I don't want my doctor in a lab, creating medicine for me, right? I want him to get me the best medication out there for whatever's ailing me, right? So what are some tips you have for advisors in, presenting model portfolios? Like, how would you recommend they approach that conversation with clients or prospects so that, they can, if they have any hesitancy to the fact that they outsource, like, what are some key points you guys have that you've used in the past with other people?
Okay, so that's a great question. We get it all the time. And it's a misconception, I'd say, is the biggest thing, because our research found that when promoted properly, and that's what I'll spend most of the time talking about, the promoted properly part, 86% of investors thought that model portfolios that are preset or off the shelf were absolutely acceptable to use for their advisor rather than use. So there's a perception problem on that too. And it's actually interesting, before I answer the question too, to bring out the point that Matt talked about trigger events and how that might cause someone to hire an advisor for the first time or to switch advisors. And one thing that we also found was that in any given time, 38% or 3.8 out of every 10 clients are at least open to the idea of looking for a new advisor. And that number actually goes up to 58% if the new advisor is using model portfolios and talks about it. Whereas the retainment factor is so much higher for advisors utilizing model portfolios, because a lot of it goes down to talking about having a trusted network, a trusted partner of expertise that they can rely upon. And so we hear a lot of different, we hear a lot of different different positioning points that people can mention. And I think that our website, specifically our Model Adoption Center, which is, I'm biased, but I would say the most robust platform that there is on specifically model portfolio adoption and application, looked at, once again, over thousands of different prospects. And what we decided to do is we did some segment graphic or segmentation, where we're looking at the different values and buying behaviors, so that the whole point is that advisors can deliver the right message to the right advisors. And so, and an example of it is we classified this group of individuals. They're called open Olivers, and over 80% of open Olivers embraced model portfolios. Hence the word open Oliver. They're open to the idea of using a model portfolio. And so what we wanted to understand is, why is that? What are their attributes that they care most about? And what we found is that they tend to be younger on the side relative to the other population of individuals. So they tend to, their average age is around 43. They tend to have a little bit less of a high of a household income and investable assets compared to the individuals that were older. And they tend to be a little bit more on like the risky side of their behavior. But what was super interesting was understanding their priorities. Risk management, managing wealth, and education was the most important thing to them, and the biggest delta relative to the individuals that also participated in it. So when it comes to the actual positioning of model portfolios to these open Olivers, and once again, an advisor can go to our website, they can get a sense of, they can read the description of an open Oliver and have those clients in mind, or download content from us and send it out to people that they think might resonate. And what it really drills down on is how utilizing model portfolios is an updated investment approach, that lets their financial advisor leverage the expertise of investment professionals who are monitoring the markets all day long, right? It's not, if you're an advisor and you're growing your business by doing golf outings, you're away from your desk when you're monitoring the model portfolios, right? And so it's really leveraging that expertise of investment professionals. It's applying the full resources of an asset manager's team, right? If you're working at an RIA, you just don't have the resources as a publicly traded asset manager that has a global research team, right? So it's talking about that point. And I'd say the third thing, which is really important, is talking about leveraging the latest technology. That was really resonated well with this group we're calling open Olivers. But let me just pause there, because that was probably a lot of messaging.
No, I mean, I think it was great, but I also think too, like to your point, if I'm a end client or a prospect, and I know that you're outsourcing the model creation and running of that model, you have more time to spend with me addressing my needs. And from my perspective, I think a lot of people are looking for almost like a coach when it comes to their financial life. And there's only so much time you have. I mean, it's, everyone's at capacity. If you're, at your front of your computer, making trades, making rebalances, looking, I guess you have to research I don't know how many thousands of ETFs there are in the world right now, but I couldn't imagine trying to pick the best ETF out there, and then let alone the allocation and when to make adjustments. So, I mean, from that perspective, I don't see how you can be, a great advisor to your client if you don't have the time to do that. So.
And to answer your earlier question about what makes us different, well, number one, our model portfolios, we're not just utilizing WisdomTree ETFs. It's open architecture. We created our own indexes that these ETFs track. We know what makes a good index and what doesn't. And this isn't news out there that we don't have all the great ETFs, right? We leverage outside managers as well. And then that's what I really like about the relationship that we have with you and this portfolio growth solutions, is that this is a consultative approach where you don't necessarily as an advisor have to default to just using a WisdomTree model. You have a team where we discuss and collaborate on what are you trying to accomplish. We tell you our thoughts. You might come back to us and say you want to see a little bit more of that and things of that nature. And it's really a dialogue that we have. And then that's where we take it to the next step as far as implementing those models. And so that's, you know, I definitely think that that's, you know, some key things to consider there.
Okay. So I guess any advice to advisors on how they can run their practice so they can spend more time doing the things that you guys talked about today?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most interesting one or the most simple form is, hey, decide if you would like for someone to help you customize models that are based on objectives and things that you want to achieve for your client portfolios. And if you'd like a second opinion, absolutely contact Ryan, contact us at WisdomTree. We're happy to give you a second opinion. Other than that, I'd say really look at where are you spending time and what are your goals. So if you have growth goals that you want to either spend more time with clients, work on referrals, or do more time prospecting, it's really important to start figuring out is like, how much am I spending on that a week? A lot of advisors I see don't spend as much time as they should on prospecting and building relationships. So if you're already crazy busy, you have multiple hats, you're doing all of these things, then that's where it's really important to figure out is to unlock the growth that I want in my firm, what do I need to let go of, minimize it, and how can I do that? And so that's where it starts coming back and saying, okay, do I need to be managing all of this, or would I be okay letting someone else kind of manage and help with it? And also get better positioning and better perception of expertise in the eyes of your prospects.
That's what I actually.
Oh, good.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to kind of add the closing remark of, you know, although the industry of model portfolios right now is 4.5 trillion and it's growing really fast, not everyone's using model portfolios. And also there's a lot of hurdles as far as getting there. We get that. We really do get that. Whether it's taxes and you want to do a tax transition, whether it's the positioning, whether it's just understanding, okay, I'm in a model portfolio, but why is the CIO making changes and how do I communicate that to the clients? I guess my one ask is think about what hurdles are. Do you experience any hurdles as far as utilizing model portfolios? And then if you can identify those, I mean, that's where you reach out to us to see, you know, how we can help with that.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate your guys' time. I think this was a great session. This will be recorded and passed around, and hopefully, wish you guys the best of luck with everything. All right.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having us.
All right. Take care, guys. Thank you.